My name is Chad Monnin. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, originally. Born in Dayton, Ohio. Moved to Columbus in 1996. Yeah, 1996. Took a job. I was a copier salesman after college. Went to Wright State University in Dayton. I was also in the Army. I've been in the Army in the National Guard and active duty, a combined of almost 13 years. So from 96 to I think 99 or so, I was a copier salesman. After college, down the street, copier salesman. And then I took a job in Seattle with a .com in Seattle, and I was with those guys for a couple years, completely venture funded, completely risky. It was a lot of fun and a lot of good money behind it. And several people from Microsoft had left and come over, in northern Washington. And so, great experience. Then September 11th happens, right? So, like, kind of right in the midst of me doing that. And in the meantime, I was a helicopter mechanic. So I was a structure and airframe helicopter mechanic at Rickenbacker Air Base here in Columbus. And right before September 11th, about a year or so beforehand, I had joined the 19th Special Forces Group here. And as soon as September 11th happened, I was deployed with that unit. So basically, September 11th happens, the country's in chaos. I leave my job, that I had been with at the .com. And so then I'm at Fort Bragg, stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Going through the Special Forces Q course, I finish and graduate Special Forces selection, then go into the Q course where I had a back injury as a result of a parachute jump. One night parachute jump, landed fine. There was a problem. I noticed a hole in my parachute, but the opening shock was really bad. Went out to dinner that night with my friends, woke up the next morning, and I couldn't move. So painful sort of a thing. And what I did was I herniated 2 discs that went into, the spinal. So that was bad. And so here I am. I have a, college degree, a top secret clearance, good military background, good background in sales and working with companies. And it took me, I think the Army took really good care of me, didn't release me from active duty till I was, 100%. And they even helped me with taking time off, to look for jobs or interviewing with agencies and that sort of thing. And so I went around to basically some government agencies to see if I wanted to work at any of those, and came back to Columbus, and I was out processing with my unit, and their companies wanted me to go to Iraq and Afghanistan to be a manager, sort of a thing. I knew I was getting out of the Army. My back injury was bad enough where I couldn't parachute any longer. So, and if you can't parachute, your job is in that capacity at least finished. So I started a company, co-founded a company in 2000, wrote the business plan in 2003, launched the company in 2004. We provided language, intelligence support, that sort of thing, to Defense Department, intelligence agencies, friendly foreign governments, that sort of thing. And what was important to me is that I got to continue to serve, right? Even though I couldn't be there in boots, sort of thing, I had the ability to do something very important that the government needed done, and me and my business partner figured out a way to do it better and faster and more economical to the taxpayers. So it really, and part of that was because we based the company here in Columbus. And so some of our overhead rates are a lot lower from a cost input standpoint than it would be to have the company located in Northern Virginia. So those sorts of things were competitive advantages for us early on, and it helped build the company into what it is today. In 2009, I stepped down as CEO. The company got really big, and we needed some more experience, right? Some more kind of gray hair to come in and take over that's managed a big operation like that. So we hired a CEO. I stepped down, I think, in 2010, and after the transition. And so since then, well, in the midst of that, I took about a year off. Spent some time with my kids, had little ones, newborns. And about a year later, I got a call from Ronald Reagan's former speechwriter, and he said, "Hey, look, we need some help on the Newt campaign, Newt Gingrich's campaign." And I said, "Yeah, I love to help, right? I mean, Newt was a hero of mine and of ours, and in Ohio, and back in the '90s when him and Dick Armey kind of took on, the left and that sort of thing." And so I said, "Yeah, it'd be an honor. It'd be really cool." So I went to. They finished Iowa. I think came in second in Iowa. Went to New Hampshire. I linked up with them in New Hampshire, and so I did New Hampshire, South Carolina, Florida, and then, the money all lined up behind Romney, and that was kind of the end of that. And so I think I was really frustrated with the outcome, right? I mean, nobody likes losing an election, but I was really upset that people did not get to see the same Newt that I got to see, right? And how he was either portrayed in the media or what the commercials were like. And campaign commercials are, bad anyway, right? I mean, they're not very artistic. They're not designed to, really create thoughtful discourse in the country. They're more motivated to
not necessarily known for their accuracy all of the time.
Yeah, they're not accurate, but some of that inaccuracies and the which is unfortunate, right? So this is all kind of, you asked me, why am I doing this and why am I here? I think it all ties back to that, to going back to that. So I kind of lobbied in the Newt campaign. I wanted him to have like a Charlie Rose sort of a thing, right? Where, he'd tell these amazing stories, when we're sitting with him, and super humble, super intelligent, just a really brilliant person. And I was really upset that we didn't win, right? But more so than that is, it was really kind of off-putting that nobody kind of got to know the Newt Gingrich and that everybody else who loved him and worked for him, right? I mean, I came on late. I mean, he had a lot of core staffers that worked a lot harder than I did and went a lot of, did a lot of, but it was an honor to kind of be there and see that happen. And so, after the campaign was over, I decided to make a film. I kind of wanted to see if anybody else felt the same way I did, right? So it was kind of a therapeutic assignment of sorts. Yeah. And so I wanted to see, first of all, talk to as many people as possible, but find out why do politicians every 2 or 4 years talk about hope and change, or it's going to be different, or we need to throw them out, and then nothing seems to really change, right? All the, there may be a couple instances, but the trends all get worse, whether it's war or poverty or taxes or the, difference in income, the income disparity, all of those sorts of things all get worse. But the parties, right, seem to have an interest in keeping people divided, right? So there's a machine that happens, that we're all aware of, a political machine that takes place, but I don't think the people really get an opportunity as much to participate. I mean, they get we talk about the campaign commercials. They're designed to be divisive. So you get in the poll, so they'll talk one way about, abortion or gun control or whatever, and it's designed to be completely polarizing, so that you get in the car and I get in the car on a cold November morning, and we go vote because, if that person gets elected, there's going to be guns on every corner or free abortions or, all of these sorts of things, when we all know that the state legislator in Ohio, in Columbus, is not going to overturn the supremacy clause, by themselves, of the United States. They're not going to overturn Roe versus Wade, those sorts of things. But yet that's the motive, right? That's kind of the political motive to get people to that 51%, to get them elected. So I really just felt that more and more people were getting pushed kind of to the end of the line, and the money that's in politics creates a good bit of corporate constituents that are closer to our politicians than the people are. At least that's how I feel. That if you just go to followthemoney.org, and whenever you're watching CNBC or a financial show, if somebody comes out and they endorse a particular stock, they have to disclose, right? If they own any of that stock, if they have holdings in it, or do they have any family that works there, that sort of thing. I think politicians should disclose who their top 10 donors are, or at least should be on a board behind them as they're talking. Because, go to followthemoney.org, and find out who is really supporting, where is the money coming from. That's the type of, and then look at what committees people get assigned to, right? So, and it's interesting, it's not by accident that there's a big correlation between the money that's in our political system and what committees people get put on and what regulations do and do not get approved. And so I think that, I just think that it's time that there is a legislator that is more beholden to the people and not to any political party, especially my own, and not to any companies or corporations. We are not. I do not want any PAC money from any companies. I don't want any endorsements from companies that support candidates financially. If they want to personally contribute money to this campaign, that's fine. If they want to vote for me, that's what I want. I want the vote of the people, not their money.
So, was there any specific straw that broke the camel's back type of issue for you that prompted you to get into this race at this specific point in time, or was it just more of the general environment and your desire to get more involved and
I don't have any I think I feel compelled to be in this race, but I wish I didn't have to, right? I don't want to be in politics at all. I don't want to do this job. I would much rather Ann Gonzalez be a legislator and be beholden to the people and accountable to the people. But I don't think, when I looked at it, I don't think she represents me. I know she represents big companies. I know she represents, companies in the pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare industry, because those are the committees that she's on. But to just kind of stand idly by while the governor, no matter how well intended, bypasses the legislature to bring Medicare expansion for what, right? So just whatever those reasons are, there's a process that we have, and I don't think a legislative process was followed, right? And it seems more and more like, generally speaking, that Ohio is losing a little bit of its sovereignty, that the people are losing a little bit of its, the reason that we're Ohio, right? Ohio is not a province of Washington, D.C.,
Yeah,
but it seems like
more of the budget when Medicaid already consumes half of the budget and you expand the program dramatically.
So
would you say that Medicaid expansion was the kind of the spark that prompted you to think, well, I have to do this, or were there other issues that sort of pushed you in that direction?
It also, school funding, right? I mean, I remember when I was a child in Dayton and going to the store with my grandmother, who I remember when the Ohio lottery, and all the commercials ran, and my grandmother had her golden Buckeye card. We would go to Kroger in Dayton, and at the end of the checkout line, she would get a lottery ticket, always, right? And and so I remember the line then was, it supports the schools, right? So it's going to fund the schools. Lottery's going to take care of the schools.
Right.
Well, you have to back up, right? With the income tax, that was going to fund the schools. Well, that couldn't fund the schools. So now let's bring in the Ohio lottery. That's supposed to fund the schools. So that's not enough. Now the casinos, right? Now the casinos are going to fund the schools. So obviously that's not enough, because what we've done in Ohio is cut income taxes, which are all well and good, right? Cut income taxes. But then to shift that burden to property taxpayers kind of on the back end, right? So we've balanced the state budget on the backs of the communities. Gehanna, where we're sitting right here, is going to have a school levy on it. And I'm not talking about how good, I'm not for or against or anything about school levies. Those are up to the communities to kind of decide how they want to handle that. But if people think twice about the reason behind levies, why wouldn't the governor look at spending that's increased 23%, over 23% in the state of Ohio, right, since he's taken over? So, and I know that you cannot completely cut deficits on spending alone, but to to increase spending, cut income taxes, that budget then, the police and fire departments are hurting for money, schools are hurting for money, and there's going to be more and more levies. That's going to be kind of, right, so the buck has been passed, and we still can't fund schools constitutionally in the state of Ohio. So before I would have cut income taxes, as much as I love the income tax cut, right, I would at least take a look at the spending so I don't, put this burden on the communities. So I think it's a few different issues that, and quite frankly, I don't know how interested the political parties are in solving the problem, right? There's a lot of money to be made in keeping things slightly one way or slightly another, you know what I mean? But it's just like, I was having this discussion with somebody. I remember, we had Carter, and then we had Reagan. So when we were kids, the pendulum, the shift in political movements was somewhat a lot more noticeable, right? And now, and I'm not quite sure what it is, and I think that there's perhaps more money in politics, which is causing the slowdown of that pendulum, right? So it's not as dramatic as it used to be. It's kind of right. It's all right here, and the pendulum doesn't swing far anymore. It used to swing far, and right? So if the Republicans had all the answers, and the Democrats have all the answers, why we still talk about these problems every 4 years?
Right, and particularly in a state like Ohio, where currently the Republicans control everything at the state level, it seems like
why do we have any problems?
If they had dramatic solutions to the major problems facing the state, then we would see a little bit more of a dramatic turnaround when it comes to the economy. We would see a little bit bigger reforms of issues like public employee pensions, any number of things, municipal tax reform, a system that's been pretty roundly criticized. So
so I think it's a general, just an overall general, kind of a buildup of feelings, ideas, and opinions, which, trust me, I would rather be fishing or hanging out with my kids, right? Who would want to do this?
So if anyone is interested in learning more about your campaign, where should they go to learn more about your House campaign?
They should go to chadforohio.com. And all the issues are there, kind of in more detail. they can email me at chad@chadforohio.com. And they can find out things that way, or they can call our campaign headquarters at 614-934-1776.
Okay.
So they can give us a buzz that way. We'll be happy to help. And look, I don't have, I'm open to the idea that I'm wrong on some issues, and I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you that, going back and forth between the parties is not necessarily getting it done. And in a country that prides itself on choices, as we do as Americans, I think they should have some,